Welcome to the 6th class with Lessons from the Anime with Wasubi Sensei. And today is another one of those lessons where I try to introduce you to something new, which is this anime that I think deserves a little more attention called Grimgar of Ash and Fantasy. I think there's a couple other names for it. I think they decided to change their branding to like Grimgar of Ash and Illusion, Fire and Illusion. I don't know. But if you Google this name, it'll definitely come up. It's on Crunchyroll. I think it's on Hulu too, if anybody wants to watch it right after this lesson. So let's just jump into it. Okay, so for those of you guys who don't know, I'll give a quick synopsis of the anime. It's about, it's one of those arrive in a new world, and they are kind of like, it's very set up similarly to an RPG where they have different jobs and they pick like a healer, archer, or warrior class. But the cool thing that's different is this anime is very, very realistic. It's not a comedy. There are some comedic moments, but it's definitely not set up as a comedy. It's set up kind of as a very, very realistic, almost even sad sometimes. No, not sometimes. Definitely sad version of stuff that happens that would most likely legitimately happen if a group of us were to suddenly be thrown in a new world and forced to survive. And so my first point is the timing of this anime, which is that this came out in 2016 when, at the same time when a lot of the big hitters in terms of arriving in a new world animes, or like A Stranger in a New World, like Konosuba or ReZero, this anime was launched at the same time, and I think because of those two animes got so much traction and had so much hype around them, this anime was really put in the shadows, or not really noticed. And that's something that I think we should really talk about, because this is such an awesome anime. It's one of my favorites, and I think everybody should definitely check it out. If you are interested and you like the genre of a stranger arriving in a new world, because it takes a completely different approach. Alright, sorry. I just mentioned this. But yeah, not many people were talking about this anime because everyone was talking about how stupid Subaru was and how hilarious Kazuma and Aqua and Darkness and Megumi were. But this one was, just nobody was really talking about it. It did pop up on a couple people's top 10 animes of 2016, but for the most part, I didn't hear anybody talking about it. And it's definitely one that I highly, highly, highly recommend you check out. Yeah, so sorry, I didn't really review this. I was so caught up with construction that I didn't really review this one. But yeah, like I said, two of the big heavy hitters that came out that year were Konosuba and ReZero, and everybody's favorite waifu, Rem. And I think that was just like the talk of 2016. It was like, oh my god, Subaru is stupid and Rem is amazing. But the arriving in a new world genre isn't new. Like, there's so many of them. One of the big ones is No Game No Life, which got so much attention. That is hands down, I think, my favorite anime. At least top 3. I keep saying favorite anime. I have a lot of them, but this is No Game No Life is definitely up there. And there are many more animes that are going to, I think, come about that have that set in new world genre. But Grimgar of Ash and Fantasy is one that sets itself apart from all the other ones, and I'll go into why. Because it has a theme of realism. Because all the other ones, they kind of, oh, okay, the character shows up in this new world and they're like super excited, like, wow, like, we're in a new world. I can conquer anything. I can start anew and I can create a new life, which that's probably something that a lot of us might first think. But realistically, if you arrive in a new world, you have no idea what's going on in that world. And then suddenly you're supposed to like live in it. You're going to be probably a lot more scared and a little worried and probably unsure of yourself, which is what the main characters in this anime really exhibit within the first couple episodes and throughout the season. They start literally at square one. It's not like they have some amazing super hidden talent where they're super OP like Belle does from Danmachi / Is It Wrong to Pay with Girls in a Dungeon, they're all just trash characters. They start level 1, like no skills, no OP abilities or anything like that, and they're all pretty crappy, and their learning curve is pretty high. They still have so much to learn. They're doing unnecessary movements. For example, this is a screenshot of one of the characters in the group swinging to try to help out his teammate to kill a goblin. The goblin literally ducks very easily out of his attack, and his sword gets stuck in a tree. And he's trying to pull it out like, oh my god. And this is in the midst of a battle where they're fighting against a goblin, and it's like life and death. And they realize that very, very early on that, yo, this is not some kind of video game where you can restart. This is a battle to life and death. This goblin is trying to kill us, and in order for us to survive, we need to kill it. And because of that, it's such an interesting dynamic to see what it might actually look and feel like if you were to start at level 1 with a group of people that you don't really know, then you're trying to build camaraderie with, and that climb from being hopelessly, desperately weak to having to really, really, really learn very quickly in order to survive. Because in that world, it's very similar to setup as an RPG. People will give out quests or bounties or stuff like that in order for you to get money in order to feed yourself or stay in a place. There's still rent, and to do that you have to kill the monsters, and if you can't kill the monsters, then you don't have money, right? You could go work manual labor jobs, but they're not skilled enough in any of those things, so they default to, you know what, we should just be a dungeon crawling group to kill these monsters. So the second big point that is very, very different, that sets this anime apart from all the other Arriving in a Strange World animes, is the memory loss. All the characters kind of suddenly just wake up. There's hints that they are probably from a modern society like Japan or the US. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's Japan, but the characters don't know. They have their memory wiped, so they don't know who they are. They remember their names. They don't know where they're from. They don't know why they're here. They have like no recollection of everything. And this is important for 2 reasons. So the first reason is that they don't spend copious amounts of time to try to figure out where they are. And that's good for storytelling, because it can kind of be boring when you watch like a character just stumbling around for 4 episodes trying to figure out where they are, what they're doing, and they have so much attachment to their old life that shift of moving into a new world is very, very abrupt and kind of difficult for them. So having their memories wiped gets rid of that problem. So for example, like Subaru, I would keep using Subaru, but Subaru spends like 2-3 episodes just trying to figure out if he has some hidden power, which he does figure out, is just dying endlessly and resetting. And also he is on this high horse like, oh my god, I can bring so much value for my other like life, that it's just kind of annoying to watch after a certain point. That's why ReZero got better towards the middle and the end. I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for this, but in the very beginning I didn't understand why everybody was so hyped about it. It was just so, I was so mad. I was like, dude, you're so stupid. Just go. Oh my, can we not waste any more time? And so Grimgar Action Fantasy, there's none of this. They just jump in instantly. They have to figure out what they have to do. Oh, I had to slide on this. Yeah, Subaru's just he's just a dumbass, you know. He's probably one of my like most hated characters. I just think he's so annoying. Like this guy. Oh my god. But the other point that accomplishes by wiping their memory is they don't have a competitive advantage, which is very interesting. So, for example, Sora comes from Japan. He's a weeb. He understands technology. Because he has his cell phone with him, that gives him a competitive advantage. He has access to a camera which can detect magic. He has a database on his iPad or tablet of 40,000 books that is relevant to agriculture. That is so powerful. Just having that kind of knowledge in a world whose rules apply on knowing things in order to beat your enemy, like that's a trump card. Having this iPad is just, it's super OP, even though it's iPad that a lot of us probably use on the daily, like even on our smartphones, we take it for granted. But having that advantage in a new world, ridiculous. And so finally, unlike ReZero or No Game No Life, where literally violence is forbidden, or in Konosuba, where it's such a comedy anime that you know that death isn't gonna be a part of the main character's worries. They might jokingly talk about like, oh my god, we're gonna die, but in reality, it's not gonna happen. This anime, death is very, very real, and it happens, and which means the stakes are much higher. So the characters have a lot more emotionally charged interactions, and the aftermath, if somebody dies, is very, very real, and you can see the depth of emotion that really happens within the character when somebody dies, and how much guilt they feel. And because of that, their group might not be as cohesive, or it sets them in danger. If someone dies in the party, right, and the next day they still have to go out into dungeon crawling in order to make a living and feed themselves, if they're in a high stakes situation where death is literally on the edge of, they could die from fighting this goblin, and somebody is just thinking about the person that died yesterday, it's probably going to throw them off their game, and that's going to jeopardize the safety of the rest of the group. And this anime explores all those topics very, very well. And there's even a point where one of the characters who's super gung-ho and like, yeah, I'm gonna kick goblins' ass, I'm gonna kill everyone, he has a point of self-reflection saying, like, who cares about what class I am? We were so focused on that. If everyone's just gonna die, what's the freaking point? And it dives into very deep philosophical thinking about, yeah, like, what happens? What do we do? How do we move on when death occurs? Yeah, and it's a pretty stark contrast to how the absurdity in some animes. You know, Konosuba is so funny, hilarious, so absurd, and there's so many animes that's just One Punch Man. One punch, everybody dies. It's just so out there, so ridiculous that it's kind of interesting to find an anime that's very the complete opposite and deals with real things. You know, this is an example of Konosuba at its finest, of like humor. Oh god, this is so funny. If you guys haven't seen this, definitely check out Konosuba. And here's another example of just the ridiculousness of anime. This is like probably the most ridiculous one, and it's about everyday life. It's called Nichijo, which means everyday life. And there's a scene where the principal ends up wrestling this deer, and it's like so normal. They're in class. She walks out, is looking out the window, and suddenly sees this ridiculous situation just like unfolding. And this other one is her trying to order a Starbucks coffee, and it's supposed to be a very mundane, quiet activity, and anime just blows things out of proportion. But yeah, this anime takes, how many is this? 7 real people and puts them into a real situation where death is literally at the corner and the stakes are a lot higher, and it explores their emotions and how we actually probably would act if we were thrown into a completely new world. I know that it's been the trend in the past couple years for like post-apocalyptic, like Hunger Games. Oh my gosh, we think, oh, it would be so cool to be in a post-apocalyptic world like that. No, it totally would not. It would suck. It would suck, and this anime explains why it would suck. But it's really, really entertaining to watch, and you root for the characters. It's not super, super morbid. It's not like everybody dies, but this is, yeah, how a realistic look at how a group of people arriving in a new world with their memory wiped, like how things would actually unfold. And yeah, with that, class is dismissed. Thank you guys so much for watching Grimgar Action Fantasy. Awesome anime, so much emotion, so much realness. Highly recommend you check it out. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Awesome. See you guys in the next one.